Hello, my name is John Hammock, and I'm a developer evangelist for Treasure Data. Today, we're going to walk you through a short demo. For today's demo, we're going to be looking at serverless data integration for data analysts with Zapier and Treasure Data. So if you're familiar with ifttt.com and the simple if this then that task automation recipe, then you already have a pretty good idea about how Zapier's trigger response mechanism works. That is, you perform a simple manipulation in one web app and this triggers a response or behavior in another. What you probably didn't know is that using webhooks, you can do a simple data import to Treasure Data. Given Zapier's hundreds of integration, a Zap containing a webhook to Treasure Data's REST API opens a door for numerous self-service integrations between any of these data sources and Treasure Data. While this integration should not replace a full-fledged import to Treasure Data's data engineering as a service, using one of our data connectors, it does serve as a good basis for modeling your data or building exploratory queries and analysis on data sources that aren't yet supported. Are you working in an organization where some folks are still keeping data in spreadsheets and you want a quick and easy way to use their data in your analytics pipeline? In this tutorial, we're going to do a simple integration between Google Sheets and Treasure Data using a Zapier Zap and a webhook. What we'll need to get started are a few things. First off, we'll need a Google Docs account. Secondly, we'll need a Treasure Data account with our Treasure Data API key, our Write API key specifically. This is available from your Treasure Data profile. We recommend that you also install Treasure Data toolbelt. You'll also need a Zapier account. So for our purposes, the free basic plan will do. So to get started, let's set up our Google Sheet. Here we've created a sheet called Test for Google Sheets, and we're looking at Sheet 6. Now, to integrate your data into Zapier, you need to be sure that you have a header row specified in your Google Sheet. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a table into Treasure Data where we can import the data. So let's do that. Let's create a table in Treasure Data into which we can import the contents of our Google Sheet. So using our Treasure Data CLI, we're going to create a database called Google Sheets. We're also going to create a table called Register. To do that, we specify our Google Sheets database, and our register is going to be the name of our table. Great, so for the next step, we're going to set up our Zapier Zap. So let's go do that. We go to our Zapier dashboard and we say make a Zap. We're going to choose Google Sheets as our trigger app. We're going to choose a new spreadsheet row. We're going to specify our account to connect to. Next, we're going to specify our spreadsheet. So we're going to take our test for Google Sheets and we're going to take sheet number 6, which we specified before. We click continue, but before we do, we need to be sure that we have column headers and at least one entry in our spreadsheet to view the available fields. So we have our column header. Let's specify our user ID, our first name, our last name, which is going to be mine. So we've added one row to our sheet. Let's go back to our Zapier Zap, hit continue. We've recently created a spreadsheet row. We're going to fetch and continue. And what we now see is that our spreadsheet row has actually picked up the data. So now that it's done that, we're going to send a webhook to Treasure Data. So in order to do that, we're going to specify our action being a Zapier webhook, so we select that. We're going to select a post operation, click continue, and we're going to start to copy in our URLs and whatnot. So let's get that data, specify our URL, which is going to be so we specify our endpoint is in treasuredata.com/postback/v3/event, and then Google Sheets and register. Google Sheets is our database and register is our table. So we want our payload type to be JSON. We're going to be sending JSON. Request an array is no. Unflatten is yes, that's by default. And for headers, we're going to create content type. And I have to remember not to put a colon after that because I did last time and it broke everything. Application JSON, right? We create a new header, which is going to be our right key. Now I'm going to go ahead and copy this. So let's go ahead and test the webhook by Zapier. We need to create a new post, and this is what's going to be created, right? Let's go to our sheet, create some new data. So I'm going to enter my colleague Paul. Great. So let's go back to our Zapier Zap, create and continue. It says that our test was successful. Now we hit finish. We want to name our Zap. Google Sheets to treasure data via Zapier. Make sure we're on. We're going to see it on our dashboard. It's kind of right there in the middle. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add a new row to our database and test our Zapier Zap again. So we're going to add Diana Sheely. So that creates a new row with Diana's information. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to Dashboard, Google Sheets to treasure data via Zapier. Let's run this and see if it actually takes. Okay, so it's got a new row and it's posted to the webhook. So once your data is ingested into treasure data, and it should have been ingested when the webhook ran, you can query it using treasure data CLI and SQL. Our SQL engine is powered by Hive and Presto, and it scales to billions of rows. Now note that the column headers won't match exactly to those in your original spreadsheet. So Zapier adds a GSX underscore prefix to the headers that you defined in your original sheet, as well as a few other Zapier-specific fields. However, you can get the same data out of your query as on your original sheet by excluding the Zapier-added columns in your queries. So there are a few different ways you can do this from the CLI. You can run the query as a plain text string. So we've embedded our query as a plain text string in this command line, and let's just run it. So let's hit the job show to show the status at the command line. Let's run that. And that tells me that query is still running. Let's wait a little bit longer. So let's run the query again to see if it took. Okay, so that gives us our result. That means that our query was processed, and now it's showing us the output result. So today we showed you a Zapier Zap with Google Sheets and treasure data, but it's actually quite trivial to build Zaps to bring in data from numerous other sources. So we suggest you check out Zapier's Zap book for the full list of available Zapier integrations and possible data sources that you can access using this method. You can even use SQL to periodically run an inner join on two separate data tables in treasure data which were imported from separate sources, assuming they share a common field, as you would in any other relational database. So try that out. Zap or not, treasure data can route data from almost any data source to almost any data destination. Sign up now for our 14-day trial or request a demo. You can also reach out to us at sales@treasuredata.com. Thank you very much.